chance that the cards fall. Make me a nice strong drink to hold back the tears and the memories. I must have lived 100 lifetimes. I know that our time's a crooked road, and I don't expect for you to know me, but I wonder if you could guide me home. It's getting late. It's getting late.
Hi, it's Chuck from Above the Basement, Boston Music and Conversation. We have been major fans of Honeysuckle from the moment we saw them on the Sinclair stage opening for the Ballroom Thieves. Fellow Berklee College of Music grads Holly McGarry, Benjamin Burns, and Gooch Bloniarz have a sound that is difficult to describe. It definitely has bluegrass roots, but leans towards what we'll call porch rock. If no one else has coined the phrase, we will take full credit. As you have just heard on their song It's Getting Late, their harmonies, musicianship, and unexpected arrangements will blow you away. Playing guitar, banjo, and mandolin, while their voices are very distinct, they blend together to build an ethereal landscape of sound that surrounds you. I know that's very deep, but you'll see what I mean when halfway through you hear Dog Song, another cut off their self-titled album. You'll also hear a few live songs at the end as well, so don't miss those. I also included about 10 seconds of them warming up because I thought it was so great. Before we begin, let me say a few words about Club Passim. The mission of Club Passim is to provide truly exceptional and interactive live musical experiences for both performers and audiences, to nurture artists of all stages of their career, and to build a vibrant music community. They do so through their legendary listening venue, music school, artist grants, and outreach programs. As a nonprofit since 1994, Passim cultivates a diverse mix of musical traditions where the emphasis is on the relationship between performers, the audience, teachers, and students. Located in Harvard Square, Passim serves Cambridge and the broader region by featuring local, national, and international artists. For more information, visit passim.org. We hope you enjoy our conversation with Honeysuckle, recorded in their kitchen in Somerville, Massachusetts. So Michelle will take pictures while we talk and make me look better than I usually look. Ron, there's no hope for you, though. So, all right. So, despite all of our technical difficulties, I think this is going to...
Yeah.
I think this will work.
I would hope that a margarita's been made in that at least once, but I don't know.
that looks...
And ward off vampires while we're here.
That looks stolen.
No comment.
Yeah. That's okay. All right. Well, thanks, guys, for sitting with us and inviting us into your home. So we saw you when we went to see Ballroom Thieves.
Yes.
And we came up afterwards. Do you remember me meeting you?
I do.
Yes.
It was
I bought vinyl from you.
Night.
All right, look at that.
Very
Did
nice.
we sign it?
You signed it.
Yeah. That's rare.
Yeah, people don't ask for that.
People buying vinyl from you is rare?
No,
I'd
that
say
they
the
sign it.
autograph.
We sign it.
Oh, that you sign it.
Yeah.
I mean, also the vinyl a little bit, but...
Weird.
Did he look a little scary? You said we must sign this because he might get upset.
That was an overwhelming night. It was
It
a
was?
good night.
Why was it an overwhelming night?
Just anytime there's a big show, you just freak yourself out. And by you, I mean us, because we freak ourselves out. And you think that it's your whole life on the table. And so that's what we did that night.
Which it kind of was at that point.
In our own little worlds. But it was very fun. But it was also...
right after the BMAs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And didn't they win?
They
Yes.
won. They
Yeah,
won
they
in
swept
2
again.
categories, maybe even 3. I know there was like Americana, folk, might have been new album also.
Yeah.
They did quite well.
Yeah, we were all nominated for the same categories the previous year, and they won as well.
Yeah.
So we had a feeling they were going to win again.
They're winners.
Because they haven't gotten any less good
taller,
or popular.
They're hotter. They got cooler tattoos.
But you're
they're
not
very
bitter.
nice.
But no one's bitter.
No, they're too nice for us.
No,
to be bitter.
they seem very nice.
Yeah, we do like them a lot.
But you're the guys I went up to after the show, so and asked them on the podcast.
All right.
But no, you guys, you blew me away because you go and you hope there's going to be a great opener, when you go see somebody. And we love the Sinclair. It's one of the was like a few times we'd been, and as soon as you guys were done, I went right over. So
is
really
that why
cool,
it was
really
a you were a little nerve-wracking because of the Sinclair itself, or was it for any other reasons? Or?
We'd played there once before as Honeysuckle. These guys had played before in a different band called Gracie's, and we played once before as part of like a showcase, so it wasn't quite an official show. So this was our first time as like a little band with a little bit more footing, so that was a little nerve-wracking. We'd only just met the Ballroom Thieves too, so still trying to make a good impression with them, of course. And then we were sort of being, I'll say, courted by a musical entity that could have been
they were in the room?
They had a representative there.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we didn't know.
Turns out they were just flirting.
Oh, those, like
but
tease. Those teases.
You knew that they were going to be there ahead of time.
Yeah, they told
so
us.
that added to your...
Yeah,
yes.
and I had just had violent food poisoning.
Oh, no.
That was a little weakened.
Oh, geez. Well, you couldn't tell on stage.
That's good.
You hold your own. You've got, you played at the Newport Folk Festival.
Mm-hmm.
You're nominated for Best Folk Artist of the Year and Best Americana Artist of the Year at the
Mm-hmm.
BMAs.
Yep.
So that's pretty, you
It feels
can hold
good.
your own.
Yeah.
That's pretty good. When were those nominations? Were those the same year?
Newport was 2015, and I think, BMAs, we were nominated in those two categories, 2015 and 2016.
Okay. Yeah.
Good.
Well, that's awesome.
Good times. Thank you.
Yeah, that was our first time to the BMAs last year.
Yeah, it's every year it's different. It was kind of crazy being at. It was at the Sinclair the previous year.
Right.
So yeah, being at the
House of Blues there.
House of Blues.
So
Yeah.
huge, so crazy,
Yeah.
but fun.
We
It
were
was a
hanging
good
out while
MC.
Chuck was like having this moment of chord and laptop and device connection, and it was we all watched while he sweat a little bit, but he did it.
Yes, thanks
And
for
he was
watching.
He was able to put this together in your home, and thanks again. This is really cool to be
Well, luckily
right
we're
where-
surrounded by
in
Berklee
the-
engineers, though.
Exactly, that's what I was saying. And we were in the epicenter of Honeysuckle, like deep inside the Death Star
HQ,
of
Death
Honeysuckle.
Star.
Oh, gotta be careful with the
And-
Star Wars references. That's our favorite thing right now. At least Holly and myself.
Well, you brought up many
It's
Star Wars references.
It's so
in our
weird because
podcast.
just last night I came up. My son, who's like 12, had the original Star Wars on, and he's explaining it to my 9-year-old daughter. You're a big Star Wars fan.
Oh,
Oh,
huge.
we're into it.
Yeah.
We're deep
It's about
into it.
the
Ben's
only
not quite
thing we
there
talk
yet.
about.
I have never seen Star Wars before.
Wait a second.
Yeah, he's
We
the outlier.
Should we stop the podcast or should we
Wait,
continue?
I mean, I
if
might
it was
have,
up
like-
to me, we probably would. And
I
just
might have
watch
been
the
in the
movie.
room when it was being played in the VHS days, but like I just never found my way to it. Not that I think it's great. Like I really do. I just haven't.
He
It's
has
a
to
big
say
thing to
that because
tackle.
we're
Like if
here.
I'm gonna watch it, I want to watch it like in a nice environment, like in high quality,
I hear
and
ya.
all in a row.
I had
you
that.
know?
So
I
the
just had that
question-
same-
It's a lot of
All right,
content.
so
but
the big question is on the table here. I think we're all. That's amazing that you've never seen that. So should Ben start with the first book?
I would like to watch them as they chronologically came out.
That's
Yeah.
the thing. It's
Yeah.
That's the way to do it.
Oh, came
Yeah.
out.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
what you should.
That's the way.
That's
Yeah.
the way they were intended to
although I do
be.
want to watch it one time in order, like 1, 2, and 3. Rogue One.
I've done it.
4, 5, and
Without
6.
Rogue One, I've done it.
I would like to see Rogue One into 4, even though like the quality is going to be a little different. I think it'd be fun to see that like sequence.
So speaking of trilogies and things like that, so there's the three of you.
Oh, nice transition there.
Thank you.
Yeah,
We were talking before
He's not as dumb
about
as he looks.
we were talking before about entering Berklee and exiting Berklee. And it was pretty striking to me that I remember your chops on the stage left, I think, with the guitar. And you did have a bass drum, I think, kick, right? But you, Ben, started as a percussion major.
Yeah, drum
right?
principal, yeah.
And then, Chris, you started as a piano major and came out a mandolin major.
Neither of us changed our principal instrument at Berklee. We were drums and piano the entire time as students, but our performing lives ended up kind of going this way. Although Ben and I were in another band for a few years where he did play drums,
drummed and
but
he
I played
keyboard sometimes.
I played keyboard towards
But
the tail end
banjo
of that. I played
and-
banjo for like 90% of the material, and mandolin for some of it, and then piano for some of it.
Tell me about that transition. So I understand. So you kept your focus as your major, but what sort of clicked, or how did it come to be for?
And so Harley, what was your major there? What was your instrument primary?
Vocal principal.
Your vocal
I hate admitting that. Vocal principals get ripped on real hard.
You're the lead singer for a great up and coming or
Yeah,
great
so it
folk
worked out for
It's
you.
alt
just the
progressive
Berklee
band, though.
psychology. No, it's fine. It's good.
Oh, getting the dirt on
Right.
what you all think of each other, depending upon your major.
It's easy to pick on the vocalists. Everybody
And the
does it.
guitar
They're the
majors.
majority.
Yeah.
A lot of them.
Yeah, they don't
Are
have to
they
carry
the majority,
anything.
really?
The majority,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah, a lot of them. Guitar.
Actually, guitar players
and
might be
voice.
more.
Guitar and voice for sure.
They're also usually guitar and voice are the two
They're not as
least
good
likely,
at reading
yes, to be like
music,
musically
typically.
academic.
I mean, I played guitar and banjo before and accompanied myself, so I didn't really transition. When I auditioned, I played guitar and sang, and I went into like self-accompanying singer-songwriter ensembles and stuff like that, so I didn't really change. I think these guys made me better musicians because they were better than me. I'm always trying to keep up with them, but their stories might be a little different.
Well, just remind us while we're talking about this. What do you play? Is it acoustic guitar?
Yeah, acoustic guitar and banjo. Banjo I'm still not good at, but I'd say I'm a solid intermediate rhythm player.
Mm-hmm. Confirmed.
You accompany your own voice and Chris and Ben as well.
Yeah, just try not to get in the way of them doing their stuff.
God, it annoys me that you guys are so good at like secondary instruments.
Yeah, it took me a while to get
I
over
only play
that.
the guitar, and
But
I'm
you're
okay.
just not good at your secondary instrument, which
Which
you
is
don't have.
zero.
Right?
but I think it's fantastic that you guys can play all these different instruments because you can mix it up. I know that you'll switch to the banjo.
Yeah,
I think I've seen
loosely a multi.
You on the banjo as well.
Not in Honeysuckle. I'm strictly on mandolin. This
Oh,
is like
really?
a first time thing. As far as Honeysuckle goes, I am proudly on one instrument for the time
you,
being.
You freaking rock it, and
Yeah.
you playing 3/8 once. You got the
Yeah, I guess so. It's
you got
with
the
singing.
bass, and you got a triangle, I think, or something. Like
I
that.
mean, did I have a triangle?
Cymbals
God.
between the
No, you
knees.
You
should.
could mount them to a
I
hat.
do have a triangle.
You grew up playing drums as
Yeah,
your
I
primary?
played all through school, and like I wanted to be a jazz drummer. I was studying jazz for a while, and I was like applying to schools in New York and stuff. But things just changed. I mean, I always played guitar and banjo, really sort of non-committally throughout high school and stuff.
I thought I was teaching him banjo chords when I first met him. He was just being polite.
I mean, she kind of was. She was refreshing me. I hadn't picked it up in a long time. My dad was a musician too, so it was always around the house.
Yeah.
So I had that melodic craving, sort of, so I would pick up the guitar every once in a while and play, but it was mostly drums until Berklee. Then I decided that I didn't like drums that much
Oh, really?
anymore.
But he does, though.
Sometimes, depending on the context.
Where-
I didn't
where-
like studying drums very much.
Was
Why,
it
do you,
because-
why do you think? Yeah.
Yeah, was it the jazz thing that they?
Once I got to Berklee, it wasn't. They make sure they're pretty well rounded, so I wasn't just studying jazz on the drums. It was a combination of things. I don't think for a while I was struggling being in music school, so my principal instrument like became my enemy kind of. But if I had to do it again, I would study something melodic. I feel like I would have gotten more out of that than drums. I can get around the drums mostly, but I would have been more inspired. I would have been had like a higher learning curve if I was
Something
on the
to kick your
banjo
butt.
or guitar or something.
But how has it the writing or the performance been influenced by rhythm?
I'm actually really glad that I started on drums because a lot of banjo was super rhythmic, and guitar and singing harmonies and locking together is like a lot of that's rhythm, even though there's no drums. Like we have to compensate for the lack of percussion in our music a lot of times. So having a good foundation in rhythm is really great. I think it helps. It makes so many things easy.
Yeah, because I noticed some of your music has some pretty interesting timing.
Yeah, and I know he got a lot of rhythmic stuff too because piano's pretty
Yeah,
rhythm-centric
percussive.
too.
We're literally the same boat, just sub piano for drums for
Yeah.
like everything in that answer.
Yeah. I mean, Chris even played drums in a band.
I
too.
did my first
Yeah.
high school band. I played drums.
Awesome.
Good
Straightened
times.
his hair.
I always wanted to play the
Played
drums,
rock
and I
music.
was never good
It's
enough at
the
it. but
most fun.
It is fun.
Thing.
I went out and I bought a drum set for my house, and I'm still not good at it, but it's fun to bang around. And
Oh yeah.
they're electronics. I get to put my headphones on, no one hears me. Which
Yeah,
is,
I have
which
an
is even
electric
better.
kit at my house back in New York.
So how did you get into the mandolin then?
I got into the mandolin. I played violin. I picked it up in third grade in elementary school, and like everybody like picks an instrument. I've been playing piano since I was like 5 years old. My dad got me started on that. So I did that for a while, and then I got into guitar in middle school, and then I had this musical uncle who played a lot of mandolin and accordion and piano. So I kind of like found the mandolin through him, and then my dad just kind of surprised me and got me a cheap Ibanez mandolin one year for Christmas, and I liked it better than the violin or the guitar. It's kind of like
So you've been playing it for a while.
since like 7th grade or 8th grade.
Oh,
or
okay.
something like
All
that.
right. So you didn't, it's not like you
middle
picked
school.
it up coming out of Berklee and you said,
No.
What if I'm good at this? And just started playing.
The
Yeah.
mandolin is interesting. It's almost like an amalgam of a violin and a guitar.
That's what I liked. I liked it better than
With
either
size
of them
and
individually.
strings and
Yeah, because I always liked playing the violin, but anytime we weren't working on a song, I would just tip it on its side and start plucking things out because it was just more fun for me that way. And I was like, oh, that's what the mandolin is, so I'll just do that.
Did you guys know each other in Berklee?
Yeah, Ben's one of the first people I met. We were in the same orientation class.
Oh, really?
I remember he was wearing a flannel shirt, and he was like, I just
Of
got back
course.
from India, and blah, blah, blah. I was like, wow, he seems cool. And,
She was mistaken.
and then I just sent him my music and relentlessly sat with him in the lunchroom when he was there and made him my friend.
There you go.
Then it did a similar
Forced
thing to Chris.
friendship.
Exactly, and here we are.
wow. And what'd you do in India?
I took a year off after high school, and I was like with this gap year program
Yeah.
through Portland State. That was for like the fall, and then I went to Peru in the spring after.
That's cool. My daughter's going to Ecuador next year.
Oh yeah,
Yeah. Should be
Really? She's going to Quito?
She's going to be a biologist assistant. She's going to
Really?
take notes and
Oh, I didn't know that.
be published in in something. I don't know. Some book.
Cool.
The dictionary, maybe.
I've read that one, I think.
And any musical connection in India?
I did study. Like there was a week we were in Varanasi, and we could choose sort of like internships. They had music, so I took 3 days of sitar and a few days of tabla, which is like totally not enough. But it was cool. I
You
mean,
got a taste
I was
of it,
always
yeah.
drawn to like those like scales that they use, harmonic minor, and like mostly through the Beatles. That's how I got into Eastern music and
Yeah,
philosophy and
that's
stuff.
interesting. Yeah.
So
It is interesting because of the way you guys harmonize, which I want to get to. So you met him your first year, and when did you guys meet?
Well, I don't know when you guys first met.
I started
exactly.
school a year ahead of the two of them, and then I met our friends Matt and John. We formed that other band we were talking about called Gray Season. We were a trio at the time, and then we that year became friends with Ian, who's a high school friend of Ben's. So then when Ben and Holly started the following year, Gray Season absorbed Ben on drums, and Ian, who's normally a guitar player, played bass in our band. Ben had met Holly in orientation class, so I met Holly, and then that's...
So my question is, you're a school full of musicians. How in God's name do you figure out who to start a band with?
Flannel shirts.
That's
I
it.
think we're super lucky. I think because a lot of people,
Yeah.
we know a lot of other like Berklee bands and stuff, or have known them, and there's so many. It's just such a saturation of musicians looking
Right.
to start projects. It's like
you don't know
hard
who
to get.
who you're going to play with well.
Right.
Sometimes you may wait and never play with anybody. I mean, I don't know how does that work?
And there's always like
Yeah.
let's jam thing.
Yeah.
I'm holding up quotes here
Yeah.
in the air, and it's like that works out sometimes too. But I think there's not many bands. There's a lot of people jamming together, but
Yeah.
like it's like a bunch of solo musicians. There's a difference between like being in a band and being in a group of musicians who are playing together. It's
Right.
like this. I
What
think
was the
we're
moment?
lucky.
Yeah, what was a moment for each of you when you realized you weren't just quote jamming together and that you wanted to be in a band with each other and you felt that you were becoming a band?
Ben and I just ended up writing well together early on. We'd just been like sending music that we liked back and forth, and then we wrote a song about a prostitute named Wendy, and
That's when I knew.
it was really dark and it was cool, and I was like, yeah, I think this will probably work. Chris didn't. We played as a duo for like a year at like Boston Burger Company and other
Yeah.
really
Oh yeah.
cool places. We made a record with 24 tracks called Feathers that I made the sleeves out of PBR boxes, and
Okay.
we were really on a roll. And then like a year into that, I guess Chris just started like
showing up and
playing
forcing himself on
sometime.
Yeah,
you.
well, we started dating because I had always liked it. I mean, I was definitely like a fan. I mean, I iPhone videoed in its entirety
Every
the
show.
entire set that they had played at Boston Burger Company.
Oh, really?
Nice.
You still have that?
I have the whole thing.
Somewhere.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
I don't even want to see that.
I was fangirling for like an entire year,
got to know
basically.
the music.
And then I realized that I could possibly be, there was space for me. Maybe I wouldn't be imposing on the duo. And then we played around with it. We had done a handful of sets for one thing or another, never with a name. It was always, we just went up there as like Holly,
Ben,
Chris, and Ben.
Chris. Yeah.
Just like no real band per se. And it wasn't until a couple of months into doing that, I felt like, we were 3 people at that point. We were a 3-person band, whatever we were, and then we wanted a name, and we landed on Honeysuckle, and then it was just nonstop from there.
This is during school or after school?
During school.
So-
yeah, we played a show at Rockwood Music Hall under the name Huckle, and then that next show that we played, I don't even know what it was. We
I
were
love
Honeysuckle.
Rockwood Music Hall.
But that felt
It's a
like
great
our
place.
first official show.
I saw the video of it.
But it felt
Oh,
magical.
cool.
Was that it?
Felt
Was that
real
the
though.
It
It
video?
felt
probably
like you
was.
guys were a band.
That was kind of our
probably-
world debut in a sense.
Yeah, we had to edit out. There's a lot of go Huckle, because we were only Huckled that one night. But
Yeah, we were not even on the bill as Huckle. We just decided that day that we were Huckle, and we
Yeah.
said it on the mic.
Now, Huckle has nothing to do with the Richard Scarry books, or no?
I wanted some.
You know what I'm talking about?
I don't actually.
So Richard Scarry, Scarry.
AREY maybe? I can't remember.
I don't know, but
It's not
it's
scary
a
like
classic. It's one of these I mean, it came out in the '70s when we were kids, but
I worship. I love that.
it's a book that had this cat, or it had all these different like Lowly the Worm, and it was like these great stories about these like cartoon
But it would
people
it would
and fire
list,
trucks.
It
And
would just list what had it would say glass and brick house, and it would label everything on the book, but there was these little stories around them.
yeah. Yeah, that's a better way of exactly. So they would sort of label everything, and then Huckle was
it was
a
our
cat.
Star Wars.
Huckle was, I think, a cat with these green
I don't
suspenders.
remember Huckle. I remember Lowly.
Yeah. So,
Anyway, so that's a no.
Lowly the
I'll have
Worm
to-
would be a
Yeah,
good
we
I
name.
didn't
knew
know,
about
but
that.
that sounds interesting.
Yeah, side project, Lowly the Worm.
Lowly the
Or
Worm.
secret name.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If we become so big and we want to play a small show.
Or we get sued by
Or
somebody.
that could be
we'll change our
your
name.
hotel secret name. For you.
But back to Honeysuckle. I mean, the word authenticity has come up in Brian Carroll's review on you guys.
Uh-oh.
He's a
Man,
sweetheart.
Brian's too nice, dude.
Yeah,
Brian.
he's
Is
a
he the-
terrific
He's
writer.
the guy
See
who
that
called
guy?
you the Chris Steele.
Yes,
of the,
yes, that's
yeah,
the same
Red,
article,
Red
I
Line
believe.
Roots. Yeah,
But
he's
you
got
know,
a great publication.
authenticity it's a cool word, because it's like I've listened to a lot of music, and when I saw you guys live, that you guys are feeling that, and you're playing the music that you love. It's genuine. What am I trying to say? It's genuine. It reminds me of some of the jam bands out there. They feed off each other. They sound fantastic live, and then they're gonna have these hooks. Just because that's just the way it happens, that's how some of these songs come about. And like what Chuck was saying with the harmonies, I mean, I think that's a big part of what you do underneath that. How do I describe Holly's voice? I can't even put in the words, but you have sort of a jazz layer over folk, and I like that.
Yeah, I totally know what you mean. We're just butchering the way to say it.
We're getting what you're saying.
Let me start again. I think that it's rare to have a jazz vocalist. I don't want to pin you as a jazz vocalist. You're a vocalist that has jazz elements and spices to it, I guess, and that it has a folk sensibility because of the harmonies with it as well.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
I
there's
like
not
the
a lot
combo.
Well, thank you. Yeah, if I was
I'm no Brian
better,
Carroll, but
I would be
I like it.
a jazz singer. But yeah, I guess there's not a lot of 3-part harmony in jazz singing. It's more of like a soloist kind of situation.
But it's not even that. I mean, you've kind of been labeled. You even say it on your website. Your folk tendencies or folk.
We're
it's
not
hard
good
to
at writing
pinpoint
around.
you of what kind of music it is, because with all the instruments, you would think, folk or bluegrass. Those are the basics of the instruments. But the songwriting and the harmonies, you could probably lean a little bit towards bluegrass, because of the way you kind of do a lot of lilting, and you use a lot of oohs and ahs and ums to include, instead of saying a lyric, you'll use that.
Yeah.
But you use effects on your mandolin, so it gets a little spacey in there. It's hard for me to pinpoint what your sound is, which is
a
what
good
makes
thing.
it unique.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't even know what
That's
to tell
why we
people
say.
anymore.
Yeah, that's why we say progressive. It just leaves it kind of.
Yeah,
open.
it's just like, I mean, that could be like a little bit of a dangerous word to use, because like typically if somebody's in a prog band, it implies something
Right.
completely unlike what we are.
Exactly.
Yeah,
But
that's
at least
true.
progressive, I think, communicates that it's not
Traditional.
Yes,
that's just
exactly.
Because sometimes like old timey or bluegrass folks, I think, might be disappointed. Like if we've been
It's in
described
there, though,
as
but
there are elements, but if we're like, yeah, it's an old timey traditional band,
You need to
people
make
would
up
be
your own
like,
word.
that's not.
kind of make up your own word.
Yeah,
I know
a
what
lot
it
of
is.
people are doing it. Crooked Porch is what gentle
Gentle
temper
Tempers is
calls
Crooked Porch
himself.
Folk. But that's because they...
Crooked Porch, I like that. It's a
Yeah.
good
Yeah,
band
we
name,
just,
too.
it doesn't even matter. I mean,
Yeah.
Lula Wilds say they're like a whiskey slap to the heart. Like, what does that mean? But it is nice, you know? We
Yeah,
just- we gotta
don't
think
quite
of
have a
something like
slogan like that.
If people ask you, like, who do you sound like, is it hard for you to...
I mean,
that. I just
Examples?
name people we like.
my
guess.
go-to, I say we're like almost like a Crosby, Stills and Nash that is existing in 2017.
It's
I can
That's
see
like where
that.
that's
The
where I
harmonies.
hard
related
to
to
say
most.
that sometimes, though. It's like we've got the 3-part harmony. We're not as good as them, but
Oh yeah, well I mean I'm not necessarily
Yeah, yeah.
thinking that, but it's 3-part harmony with 3 distinct voices present also.
I don't mind losing my mind. Leave all my troubles behind. Steal what I can from the supermarket. I don't mind losing 2 years. Feels like 14 around here. And most of my friends can't wait to meet me. Is it too late to come home? Will the door still be open? Is the fire in the stove? Rocking chair croaking. I promise I'll never run away again.
So I do want to talk about your songwriting, and one of my favorite songs, and there's a lot of them. What's the name of the album? Arrows? Is that what it's called?
oh, the first one, yeah.
Well, I may be mixing up my albums, but there's one called the Dogs one.
Dog Song.
Dog Song.
Yeah, that's off the
love that
album
song.
itself.
And I heard that you recorded off Passim, and there's a Dog Song intro.
Oh, is there?
There is.
There is. It's on the and you can
It's
you
in
can
the
purchase it
banter.
actually. And
I will buy it later.
And it explains how you came up with the song. It was an album release party. Was
Oh,
it
yeah,
on
we
that
did
album?
some-
Vinyl
Yep.
release?
Yeah, we did
It's on that
a
album.
couple.
But you
yeah,
said
we put
that you had it for a while, and then you finished it a couple months before,
He finished it in the studio, really.
Yeah.
The lyrics.
and then the album was out 2 months later.
Yeah.
Something
Wow.
like that, yeah.
That's
Most of
pretty
the
quick.
song was formed before.
Well, that was one of the songs. I have a bunch of little ideas. You know, I'll have that idea for a melody, and like me and Holly have like probably libraries of like little tiny snippets of things that we've recorded, just little things that we're hoping will come together later. It was at the point where we're like making this new record, so we kind of like brought some stuff to the table that was half finished, and that was one of them. I didn't have too much faith in it until I heard it in the context with harmonies. Like, it, obviously didn't have harmonies when I was just recording it. It was just this little sort of ditty thing, and well, that was the first time I think I tried to write a song where I was like, had an idea in mind about what I wanted it to be about. Like, I wanted it to be from the perspective of a dog who had ran away. The idea was that this dog is like yearning to break free, finally like snaps the leash, runs down the road, escapes the shackles of lonely yard existence or whatever, whoever's keeping
Sounds
him
like your life,
captive.
Ron.
It's about you, honestly. I didn't know until now, but and then steals food from the supermarkets to eat, and eventually like regrets his decision. Obviously,
To
seeing
leave.
things that he took for granted about the yard life.
When I found out the name, I'm like, why is it called Dogs? It took
Yeah.
me a second, but then it doesn't have to be about a dog. It could be about you guys could be stealing stuff from the supermarket.
Yeah,
and
well, I
that's-
mean,
Yeah.
that's not out of the question.
You're right.
It doesn't actually say dog in the song.
No, it doesn't.
Do you guys know Jennifer Kimball?
Yes.
So-
Didn't Denny play with her?
loosely, yeah, I think she might.
Yeah, our friend Denny plays with her sometimes.
Yeah, so she was in a band called The Story back in the 90s, and all she did was harmonies. She just sang. And her latest album, a lot of really unusual harmonies, and we kind of talked about it in the last podcast.
Yeah.
And
It's called Evoset.
Evoset, yes, which is a bird, right?
I don't know.
Yeah, thanks for help.
But I know alewife is a fish.
Alewife is a fish.
Because I just parked at alewife and I looked it up because I forgot.
Yes.
But anyway, go ahead.
What was I saying?
Dogs, birds, fish.
Unusual harmonies.
Unusual harmonies, yeah. So, I mean,
Thank you.
It's in a lot of songs, but since I have the dog song in my head, that one line, "Steal what I can from the supermarket," gives me chills when I hear it. I crank that out with my daughter. And my daughter loves that, likes that song a lot.
She's gonna be
Bad
stealing
influence,
food in
dude.
Ecuador
But
before you know it.
I don't know what it is.
Who knows what we're inspiring in the youth of today?
I don't know if you guys can explain, maybe theoretically,
It's a major 7.
why it's different.
Yeah,
It's a major 7 chord.
it's major 7 to a 9, right? It goes to a 9.
But it's not. I don't know. It's for whatever reason, I don't expect where you go with that harmony piece. I don't know what it is. Is it? Do you know why? Is it just?
They
I'm
like
an
a
idiot?
lot of like tensions and stuff. That's probably why.
Yeah, we're kind of drawn to like the way notes rub against each other a little bit. So like that's kind of where the schooling comes in and helps, because you can match your ear to things that are tangible. Like, oh, I like the way that sounds, and you learn what it is, and you can use it, you know?
Right.
So we, like, when we're arranging things, we will choose to go to, like, a tension instead of, like, a regular diatonic
I think
or
it's
tone.
perfect. This attention. I like that.
Yeah, and I want to hear more about this because it's really unique. Again, as Chuck mentioned, that the three of you as a trio came out of Berklee, and it sort of evolved that way with a lot of, there's a lot of silos. There's a lot of people that are in this to sort of get their big start. When you come together, you're naturally gifted musicians, but you also have theory and you have training. You're just describing right there my curiosity about some Berklee-born band that's organic, because it's nature nurture. You're learning so much. You hear these things too. You just said you come up with these little ditties, and you have a library of them, and you do too, of course. It's not just what you hear, but you're also thinking about it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's
so
like,
what's the chicken or the egg sometimes?
It's putting a reason to the rhyme. Like, I mean, I think most of what we come up with or like, we had floating around our brains, or was like in our taste already. But now, because we know what we're talking about, we can say, play the 9 there, the major 9 or whatever.
Yeah. It puts a language to, like, the non-tangible idea. But I think we tend to like to let songs be driven by things that aren't really theory-based, because that's where all, like, the good stuff comes from, for me at least. Is stuff that I'm just, like, thinking about. I'm not thinking about, like, oh, this should go to the 4 chord, or, like, if I'm in a tight spot, I'll be like, okay, well, I can use, like, a convention, but, like, usually I'll try to go with whatever's floating around, because that's going to be the most, like, freeing thing for me. I'm not going to be satisfied, like, writing so hands-on, I guess. It's, like, letting things happen as organically as they can, and then completing them with knowledge that I have picked up.
Yeah.
Interesting. So what degree is improv then when you guys play live?
Just about to ask that.
When we play live, it's mostly scripted and written. But there are, I mean, Ben and I will spice things up quite frequently, especially on things that we played so many times. Things that are, like, particularly jammy in nature and kind of upbeat. I'll throw in a lick that I don't play a lot of times. Or, like, Ben will do some kind of rhythmic thing, and I'll look at him and I'll just call it back. It's kind of like this funny inside joke, almost.
Maybe even, like, more so out of boredom a lot of times.
Yeah,
too.
It's keeping it fresh.
But not
for
that
sure.
we're very bored, but, like, we know them well enough that, like, we feel comfortable that we can, like, mess around and not have, like, a train wreck.
Yeah, but there are certain things. It just depends. Like, it's almost more within the regular song structure that the improvisation happens. But, like, anytime that I have a lead, with the exception of some of the newer songs, but, like, most of the songs, like Canary or something, where I'm taking, like, a big instrumental chunk, like you were saying at the end of that Tiny Desk video, I play that note for note almost the same way every time, because it's more of a part than a solo in my eyes. It just depends on the song, really, I guess. But there's a fair amount of improv.
Yeah, and what about you? Do you have some inflections or changes that you do live, or?
Pretty rarely.
Yeah.
They're a treat when they
all
happen.
3 of... What was that?
They're a treat when you do them.
Oh, yeah. I mean, all 3 of us are singing at the same time a lot. If I do something that's unscripted, it is usually a train wreck situation.
Sometimes she, like, she switches verses around just to keep us on our
If I'm
toes.
not, like, paying... If I just start thinking about something else, it's always at really inopportune times. Like, for instance, at the Newport Folk Festival, we were playing a Gillian Welsh song. I love Gillian. And it's a song we knew very well. And we were mid-song, and I was just looking out, and I was like, wow, how amazing it is to be here. And I just blew right through a section, and it turned into a solo. And, things like that.
Yeah, but
My
nobody
improv... It really keeps these guys on their toes in a bad way.
So sometimes it's unintentional improv. No mistakes though. Never.
No,
Always
it's always
improv.
unintentional. And
What do they say? If you make a mistake, do it again.
Yeah, just play it again.
yeah, that's true. It does work. I mean, in like a solo situation, not in like you can't just repeat a verse because you.
Well, you skip that section. Next show we play, skip it again. People are like, oh, they changed the
It
arrangement.
wasn't actually a part. No,
Right.
so I don't really. I don't have like solo chops or anything like that. So.
I wanted to ask about the million hits. How does that? How does
You
that
guys
happen?
would have a
Luck
million
happens.
friends.
We just bought this house.
We don't have a million friends.
We just bought a house. I bought a car. Holly bought 2
Yeah.
cars.
Great.
No, so I want
I got
people
a
to.
solid gold mandolin.
You are drinking Lord Hobo, so that's
yeah.
not cheap
I mean,
beer.
Yeah, it's
Last
just
week-
ironic now. You know, the hobo thing. We're like, yeah, we're rich.
No.
But a million plays on a song called "Board a What's it called?
Board
Board
that
that
plane.
plane.
That's a big number.
That's
It
pretty
is
cool,
a big
yeah.
number. I honestly don't know what happened. Someone at Spotify must just like us. I mean, it's getting put on playlists. I don't honestly know how that
I mean,
works.
from what I understand, the playlists that Spotify curates are like 50% staff picks, 50% algorithmic, like machine picks. And then our album came out, and then within that week, it was sifted to the top of like new releases, and then it was on Fresh Finds that week. And then it
Yeah,
did really
that's
well
what
there.
pushed it over the
And
top.
then we were getting ready to play Lollapalooza at that time, so somebody had added it to a Lollapalooza playlist, and then this was actually for It's Getting Late. It wasn't even the same song, but like we started getting Spotify traction that way. And I think Spotify saw that it was doing well on the playlist and getting lots of listens, and people were coming back or maybe going to our artist page as a result. Then they put our song Canary on another playlist called like Indie Bluegrass or something. And then Board That Plane got put on a third one a few months later called Acoustic Afternoon.
Oh, acoustic.
Yeah, and then for whatever reason, that song in that playlist just got like triple the traction of the other stuff.
So you're watching this kind of bump up 10,000, 100,000.
Yeah, it's
Chris's
crazy.
dad really likes to check. He's like, oh,
Every
you
time I'm
got
on the
to-
phone, he's like, "Oh, you're 800,000,
That's what I do for my
456."
downloads of my podcast. I understand how that works.
But that's really cool.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I don't think I've actually heard that song. I'm one of the non-million.
Yeah, it's one I
there's a
never
lot-
would have
A
expected.
lot more people who haven't
A
heard it
million
than
and
heard
one.
it.
Yeah.
But
That's one I
it's-
wrote in
but
high school, I think.
Kudos. I mean, that's kind
awesome.
of a rare thing. So I don't know.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah.
I like to
That's
think
very
that
lucky.
it's nice to think that a million people are having acoustic afternoons too. It's really really pleasing thought.
Yeah,
you know.
it's like afternoon delight.
Yeah, it's exactly like afternoon.
That's where the
delight.
inspiration for that song came from.
Oh, my daughter's listening to you. I know.
Get that younger.
So you got the high school demographic.
Yeah, we are somewhat
Good.
family friendly. I think that
Yeah,
helps
we
us
don't
out.
have any cursing. We've got that line about stealing, but
Yeah, but it's a dog,
Yeah.
though.
Yeah, the dog
Yeah,
did
the
it.
dog.
No, but that's a
Yeah.
good point,
Scraps,
though.
yeah.
We have a lot. We've had about 43 episodes or so on this podcast, and all types of folks. Your music does span different generations, that's a rare thing as well. And I don't know. I like to highlight that. That may be a reason why you're at that million, because it's not. Yeah, it's family friendly, but I mean, you can have meaning like you can have like a little kid dance to it and enjoy it, but also you can have like, you know, millennials and old Gen Xers like us. You know?
You're the Star Wars of
Thank
Porch
you.
Rock.
Thank
Yeah, we're
you.
Star Wars folk. That's our new
Star Wars
genre.
folk.
Yeah.
That's so misleading.
There is so much about Star Wars that connects with Honeysuckle. It's scary.
It is really scary.
Yeah.
How about Porch Rock? Is that a good definition of you
Porch
guys?
Rock?
Porch
Yeah,
Rock?
Possibly.
And I'll think of something.
It's getting there.
What's going on for you guys this summer? What's next?
Well, we got a tour coming up with our friends at Western Den. That's going to be starting July 14th. It's 2 weeks.
Where's that?
Holly, take it away.
It's going. We're going Midwest and into the South, so we're going as far west in that tour as Chicago. We're opening for Drive-By Truckers.
Oh, neat. Really?
And so, yeah, that's one of
That's
our big
fantastic.
gigs of the summer. And then we're going with Western Den down as far south as, I believe, Richmond, Virginia, and then back up north again to Portland, Maine, and spots in between.
And then we'll be over in the
Awesome.
Pacific Northwest for mid-August until like early September. And then big thing after that, new album dropping October 5th.
Oh, sweet.
Show's going to be
Yeah.
at Passim.
That's our place. That's
Are
our
you
home.
playing the
Yeah.
new stuff now?
Some of it, yeah. You heard some of the songs at,
There's
at the
some
Sinclair,
songs
I
that
think.
haven't been heard at all, though.
So thank you guys.
Thank
My
you.
pleasure.
Appreciate it. Why don't we stop this and we'll get resituated, and we'll see you guys want to play for us. If you
Sure.
would.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah,
Awesome.
thanks.
All right.
$1 bills, American skills. 7 long dreary days, 52 ways to die without pain.
Hey, so tell me one more time where you guys are playing.
It's called Beautiful Pain.
Beautiful Pain. All right. Go for it.
August keeled over the key to the fall, outstretching his sun-dipped and calloused right hand. There on the threshold of outside and in, how the sirens wailed high, how the rain came again. Though I'm not afraid of the two-wheel machine that now I find rumbling under my feet. Who said a hill town could bury the song of the life that he sold, that his boy may stand strong? $6 $1 bills, American skills, the carpenter's boy. 7 long dreary days, 52 ways to die without pay. How to break even when the work is all gone. I was born to live full, never meant to live long. Take care of the mother when it falls in my lot, that I rise to my own with the peace that I sought. See that the fire is stoked in the dawn. You're the man of the house, now my body's gone. Lord, let me die with a hammer in hand too. When the flood finally comes, I can watch from the $6 $1 bills, American skills, carpenter's boy. 2 long dreary years. tried to bring you back. You were water through my hands, rushing as the rivers to the sea. All those words so hard to find, written on the subway lines. Count them as the sky falls to its knees. Oh, see how they run. All the years not knowing what they've lost. Chipping away their pain, as if there was a word to say. There was a word to say.
Honeysuckle sounds great even in their kitchen. You have got to check them out live. They have a full schedule of shows this summer and will drop their new album this fall. Check out everything there is to know about them at honeysuckleband.com. Go to abovethebasement.com where you can sign up for our newsletter, listen and subscribe to our podcast, like our Facebook page, follow us on Twitter, and look at all the nice pictures we post on Instagram. We are everywhere. On behalf of Ronnie and myself, thanks for listening. Tell your friends, and remember, Boston music, like its history, is unique.